This evening I'm out here in the garden doing a little bit of planning for spring. And if you check out our podcast, the Keep Growing podcast, over at bobsmarket.com/keepgrowing, we're talking about planning right now. We just covered garden journaling, so I've got my garden journal here with me. And we also talked about making your own yard a certified wildlife habitat. And actually, just this past week, I got my sign from the West Virginia DNR, and my yard is now a West Virginia wild yard. So you can check all of that out over on the podcast. But today what I'm doing is planning for early spring. So I've got my garden beds here, and I want to start thinking about what early spring vegetables I can plant. So I've brought out my garden journal, or well, it's just my day planner. I've put everything into it because I use a process called bullet journaling. So it has personal notes, notes from work, everything all in one book. And then I also brought out this year's Burpee Seed Catalog. I find that it's a great tool for inspiration when you're trying to pick out plants. Alright, so what I've done here is I've sketched out my garden beds. And I intentionally left a little bit of space down this side so I can just make a list of plants that I know that I want to plant this spring. So this is my early spring garden plants. So this is kind of mid-March through April into May, when we know there's still a danger of frost, but I can plant frost-hardy plants. And also I need to keep in mind that I want to be replacing some of these plants later on in May, once the danger of frost is past, with things like tomatoes and peppers and all of that good stuff. So I need to keep in mind also the crop time. So things like leaf lettuce that only take like 30 days or so to mature, I can put those where I'm planning on putting my tomatoes. And that's kind of how I want to go about planning out where I'm going to put stuff in the garden. So let's make a list. Alright, so here is my quick list. I have onion sets, cabbage, kale, leaf lettuce, broccoli maybe, snow peas, and also radishes maybe. So broccoli and radishes, I've had varying success over the years growing those, so I'm not quite sure if I want to try them again this year or not. I might do just one experimental bed just to see. And yeah, it would be my first time growing at least broccoli in a raised bed, so I might try them and see how they do. So now I need to figure out which beds I'm going to plant with what stuff. So yeah, this is where I can kind of get creative. Alright, so I think I came up with a pretty good layout that works in relation to our house, so it'll look good from the kitchen window when I'm looking out at it. I decided against doing broccoli and radishes because, yeah, it's early spring, it's going to be cold, I don't want to be out here in the garden all the time that time of year. So this looks like it'll be fairly low maintenance, so let me grab the camera here and show you what I'm thinking. Alright, so this is kind of the front of the garden as you approach it from our house, which is right behind me here. In this first bed, I'm planning on doing onion sets. And I'm mainly growing them for green onions, so they'll be pulled up and picked before they mature into bulbs. And then something else will go into that bed later. over here, I had tomatoes here last year. I'm planning on doing the same. So that's where my leaf lettuce is going to go. Back in this bed, I like to grow some kale to have some variety, but I'm not a huge fan of kale. I do like it in soups and stuff like that, but I won't need a huge amount. And half of this bed I have dedicated to compost, so I'm going to do my kale right here. Then in this bed, I'm planning on planting cabbage. And I'll probably do both red and green cabbage to have some variety. And then back here, I want to do kind of a trellis setup and do snow peas. So I had some snow peas in this bed back in the fall. They looked absolutely beautiful, had beautiful blooms on them, but I got them planted too late and the frost got them. So hopefully we'll have a better result this spring by planting them, using some row covers to help keep them protected, and hopefully we won't get any like really hard freezes that'll kill them. But I think I'm going to shoot for going all the way across both beds with the snow peas. So that's my plan, and now I just have to order seed, and some of this stuff I'm going to grow from starts. So the cabbage I'll probably purchase from Bob's Market along with the kale, and yeah, and then of course I always get my onion sets at Bob's. So that's a quick run through of my early spring garden plans, and as always, for this and other great information, you can find us online at bobsmarket.com.